Oh, I will. Good day, podcast community. My name is PeteKane, Podcast Pete, and lifestyle coach. We have a special guest on our show who's been traveling around and who is very involved in the community. So we're very fortunate to be able to get Sandra on, and I had to pull a couple strings to get her. Okay, Sandra, tell our
Thank you.
viewers who you are, what you do, and who you serve, and then we'll get into our podcast.
Absolutely, Pete. First of all, thank you so much for having me on. I really do appreciate this opportunity. You're such a great guy and also a great podcaster. So I'm looking forward to this experience. So my name is Sandra Glenn, and I am the community liaison for Watson Injury Law.
Mhm.
And what that means is I try to go out into the community and convince people to come to Watson Injury Law for the very best representation if they have been injured in an automobile accident. Absolutely love what I do. Absolutely love my firm. I have been there 10 years in May, which is an eternity in employment years. And I just firmly believe in the work that we do and the justice that we seek for injured people. Who do I serve? Yeah, I said this to you before, Pete. Serve God first, and then I serve my family and my community.
Well, I love that the priority you put that in. I drive down every main road, and if I've seen one, I've seen 100 private attorneys on the billboards.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I love your approach, and I love what Watson does. As a community liaison, tell our viewers, like, what does that mean? What is your
Definitely.
responsibilities?
Well, first of all, we pride ourselves on not being a billboard attorney. And what that means is we build relationships. We build human connection. We walk the walk and we talk the talk. And if you come and see us as an injured person, you become one of the family. We're a
Mhm.
small boutique firm. We serve all of Georgia and Tennessee, and we do it with integrity, humility, and pride.
Hmm. That's beautiful, because you don't have that impression about the market, the private attorney industry in general. I'm just saying the way I see it.
Right.
What do you think? Like, what do you enjoy most? Because we have a Community Matters podcast, and it's so important to be involved in the community and do things like, what do you enjoy about the community part of what you do?
What I enjoy most is building and maintaining relationships within the community. Um, I enjoy the involvement. I enjoy the service. Like I have the opportunity to do with the Rotary Club, and I just really I take a lot of pride in my firm, as you can tell, and I want to get injured people to an attorney that really cares.
Mm.
Not that is my, let's just say, some percent lawyer that you see on a billboard, because I guess I feel like you get what you pay for.
Hmm.
And our priority in our firm is client, provider, and then attorney. And that's how we distribute settlements, because it's so important to us to get justice for the injured, and it's very hard to do sometimes. And we also very much appreciate the work that the doctors and the chiropractors, the surgeons do for our clients, and we want to make sure that they are adequately compensated as well. And we take the scraps. I hate to say that, but sometimes it's true. And the philosophy there is, you know, pay it forward. If you have a great experience with us, you tell your friends, because our business is built on referrals.
Ooh, I love that. I was looking at insurance, and I have an insurance agent, but I don't know. I just wanted a competitiveness, and I put my name in there. Well, I've gotten at least 100
Oh, yeah.
texts and emails. I mean, my phone blew up, and it's just like so many people don't have that relationship building part of what they do,
Right.
which anytime you're dealing with cold leads or cold referrals, they have to get to know, like, and trust you. And that takes time.
Hmm.
And I think we all sometimes go to the transactional side of business and don't build those relationships. Why did you decide to join Rotary? What was a motivator there? Because I see you on Thursday and you're active in there. You're not like sit on the sidelines type
No,
person.
it's not me. So Pete, honestly, I decided to join Rotary because I had the connections in business associations and networking groups, and I loved the idea of service above self. And I
Hmm.
love the idea that Rotary, while you can make business connections, it's through your relationships, and it's through showing up and letting people know. If you say, "Hey, I'll be there at 12:30," you're going to be there, and "Hey, I'm going to share this project," you're going to share that project. And I have been fortunate enough that two of our presidents wanted me to be the social chair. And again, I take that responsibility seriously, and I want to do a great job because that's also a fun part of Rotary, where people who do have a heart for service can get together with other people who have a heart for service, and just really build the friendships.
Hmm. What do you think? Because I know you're involved with Mostly Mutts, and that's
My heart. Yes.
serving our wonderful, dogs and cats and animals. And I know a couple other people. What have you always had that kind of servant heart? And why are you involved with Mostly Mutts?
Well, I tell the story jokingly, but in all seriousness, that my name Sandra is a derivative of Alexander, which means helper of mankind. And I've
Hmm.
always taken that very seriously. And I also have a very empathetic nature. And so I just have a heart for the animals and the work that Mostly Mutts does.
Hmm.
I always say you can't get too attached to one of them if you go in and volunteer, because pretty soon they're going to get adopted, which is so wonderful. Give
Hmm.
these forever homes to these just adorable babies that, through no fault of their own, have found themselves in a situation where they're in a shelter. And some of the stories, Pete, are heartbreaking.
Hmm.
And they just want love, and
Yeah.
I love that about Mostly Mutts and the animals that come through there. I mean, that's where I got my beautiful little Tessa, and she is my heart.
Yeah, there's a special connection with I've had four dogs over and a cat and a rabbit and all kinds of stuff. And
Yeah.
my daughter was the main person that always introduced us to another one. But
Hmm.
there's such a special connection with our
Is.
doggies and cats and animals. What do you like most about, like, for those that don't own a dog or a cat? What do you see? What could you share with them? What fills you up
Definitely.
the most when you're talking about serving at Mostly Mutts?
Well, one of the things that I absolutely have to point out is Mostly Mutts will spay and neuter the animal, as soon as we have it, if it has not been done at the shelter, um,
Hmm.
more like the animal humane society, something like that, because Mostly Mutts doesn't just take animals off the street. Usually there might be an exception, but most of the animals are picked up from the shelters around the metro area.
Hmm.
And it is so important to spay and neuter your animal, because especially a lot of people, and they just want it to be kind of indoor outdoor, but if you're not willing to take care of a litter of puppies, then, and those are the ones that show up at the shelter. And to me, not to be harsh, but that's just very irresponsible parenting.
Hmm.
Because when you adopt an animal, when you find an animal, when you purchase an animal, um, it's a responsibility. They're
Hmm.
they're not toys, and they're not disposable, and they require a lot of attention and food, water, walking, and a lot of times we see these little adorable puppies come back into the shelter, and I think, how did this happen? Look how cute. But you can't adopt an animal thinking that it's just some sort of toy that you take out and play with when you want to. It's a full-time responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would be my biggest message to people who, you look at a puppy and you can't help but have all the happy endorphins. They're adorable. Same thing with a kitten. But I think you need to be someone who's willing to put in the work.
Yeah. No, that's well said. I remember it was about a year ago when you and Frank came back from traveling and you said, we're going to go to the Antarctic. And I went, what on earth? Why would anybody want to go to a cold?
That is the standard response. Why?
Yeah. And I was like, I didn't say it, but I was thinking I'd rather be in a warm climate. So tell us about why you selected that part of the world, and what could you share with our viewers about that experience that they might have a myth or a misconception about a part of the world like that?
Sure, absolutely. So it was maybe not necessarily my bucket list to go to Antarctica, but my husband, who was in the Air Force for 32 years, has been to a lot of the continents, 6 of them before Antarctica. And so it was his bucket list to literally step foot on the continent, take a picture, be like, been there, done that. But because you never know with Antarctica what you're going to get. And then I started just getting super psyched about it. And I looked at all the videos of the Drake Passage and what that intakes, and people who have a hat and it says Drake Boss, because crossing the Drake sometimes can be very, very difficult. It's the most unpredictable water. And a lot of people, my aunt included, were like, no, I'm never going to Antarctica because I have to go through the Drake. Well, that's part of the adventure. And you take the precautions, and you're on a ship that has amazing stabilizers like the Viking ship that we were on. And yeah, it's 1 or 2 days out of your journey there, and 48 hours back. So to me, it was worth it. But then when we entered into the Antarctic Peninsula and saw our first icebergs and saw our first glimpses of the snow and the glaciers and just the vast whiteness that is Antarctica, it just takes your breath away. And you have a different appreciation for God. You have a different appreciation for nature. And then we were so fortunate, Pete, to have the weather that we had, because it was 32 degrees and sunny, because we are in the Antarctic summer, obviously, in the South Pole in December. And here, in Kennesaw, it was 14 degrees. So
Wow.
I was running around in a t-shirt because 32 and sunny with no humidity. And there is no humidity in Antarctica because it is a desert, which is an interesting concept for people to get their heads around. But it is. There's no rainfall, and well, very little, and you're warm. Now, if the wind blows, that's a whole nother story. But we were so fortunate with our weather. Every time we had a landing, we had beautiful bluebird days, as we call them, and that means the sky is blue and the sun is out. And to see the blue, the sun reflecting on the blue water with the white, it's just stunning. I just don't have any other words for how amazing it is. And then to be able to connect to wildlife in the way that we did, seeing the whales and the seals and the penguins, it's just, I don't know, it's just like the most amazing feeling. And to hear the ice crack and see an ice shelf or an iceberg calve, I mean, it's amazing. And the coolest part to me now that I'm obsessed with Antarctica is when I watch shows, documentaries, movies, I'm like, yeah, I've been there. Like it oh my gosh, it just almost makes my heart just want to, just like explode. It's just so full of love for the continent.
Yeah. I was talking to Frank after he came back, and there was a conversation in the office about, what was there and stuff. And so my impression when he was sharing it was like, there's places to go to, like a restaurant or, different things. And he said, there's nothing but ice and penguins. So when you stepped off the cruise boat and you're on land, what was it like to see just, that visual that you kind of always think there's going to be stuff there. But what
Right.
did you see? Like, what was it like to?
Well, I have to tell you, so you get off the cruise boat onto a Zodiac, which takes you to the landing spot. And again, because of the weather, we were so fortunate to make all of our landings. Um, and I remember feeling my blood pressure rise because we had to wait for another boat or something. And I'm just like, just let us touch the continent. Just let Frank step foot on the continent. And I thought, please don't let anything, like, don't let some big catabonic wind,
Yeah.
arise. And they're like, no, got to turn around. And so for me, when I actually stepped both feet on the continent, I just took a moment and I just breathed a huge sigh and I said a prayer of thanksgiving and just felt so grateful to have that opportunity. But then on top of that, to be 5 feet within a penguin and a penguin colony, it's amazing. And penguins are the cutest things in the whole world. They're so cute.
Yeah. Do they, when you said 5 feet, like, is that the closest you can get to them
It
without
is.
moving, with them getting scared or something?
Well, there is a whole huge organization that regulates who can go to Antarctica, what you can do in Antarctica, how long you can spend, all of those kind of things. And the biggest thing is to protect the wildlife.
Mhm.
And you cannot sit, kneel, or lie down on Antarctica because they don't want any transfer from your clothing to be on the continent. We had to go through a biohazard screening where they took all of the outerwear that we were going to possibly wear on our landings, and they looked for seeds. They looked for stray plastics. They looked for anything that could contaminate. And I just think that's so wonderful. We had to wash our boots in sterilization every time we went on the continent. Because unfortunately the avian flu has reached Antarctica and it's tragic. So you just really want to protect that area, not to mention the fact that Antarctica is so important for us in terms of holding on to the carbon, and we need those ice shelves because if
Mhm.
that all melts, it's goodbye California, New York,
Yeah.
So it just really impressed upon me the importance of protecting our planet.
Did you have that kind of attitude before you stepped on the Antarctica? I mean, did you like, or did it go to another level of really appreciating
Yes, I think
the?
that would be fair. I mean, I've always
Yeah,
been a conservationist, but I
yeah,
think it took it to another level of understanding how important it is.
yeah. That's, I think those kind of experiences will drive us different behaviors. What
Mm-hmm.
would you say, like, with what you do today?
Mm-hmm.
What in your past drove you to that? Were you always kind of a servant at heart, or did you go through a time that you got more into that kind of um I guess mindset?
Well, I can tell you my first servant position. I was a candy striper in a hospital.
Oh, yeah.
And I had the little outfit and yeah, and would go and visit patients. Of course, this is way before all the restrictions. Um, I would go and visit patients and I would take them newspapers and I would deliver their flowers in the hospital. And it was, gosh, what was I? I guess I was like maybe 10, 11 when I was
Mhm.
doing that. And I just have always wanted to serve others. And in 2019 into 2020, I did all of the training in order to become a Stephen minister.
Mhm.
So I could serve people as a lay minister in my church. And then I was just so fortunate to be involved with Mostly Mutts and my other charities that I'm involved with. And it's just been a huge blessing. So yes, I guess I've always cared about people and I've always cared
Mhm.
about the welfare of people.
Mhm. My sister-in-law was like, somebody either had talked to her about the Stephen ministry and she was asking about it. What would you tell people? What is Stephen's ministry, and what would your involvement? How did it change you going through that?
Oh yeah, that was huge. So Stephen ministry is a lay position within the church, and it's someone who has gone through the training, who then walks alongside of someone who could possibly be in a crisis, who needs help, who needs guidance. And our job as a Stephen minister is to listen.
Hmm.
We're not professionals. We're not, we don't have any kind of, payment or anything. And our job is just to be a friend. Like they show the image of the Stephen ministry that someone is in a pit. Well, the Stephen minister doesn't necessarily get in the pit with them, but we hang on the edge of the pit and we reach down a hand for them
Mm-hmm.
to hold. And then our other hand is reaching up toward God because he is our ultimate healer. And we just want to be a vessel for him that can pull that person out of the pit.
Hmm. Yeah,
Does
well,
that little
yeah,
analogy make
no,
sense?
it really is good because
Mhm.
you know I know about it, but I'm always surprised that you think others would know that and they
Yeah.
know, but they don't because it's just just the way life works. What would you say, like when you look at where you are today, and if you had to advise a 20-year-old Sandra based on what the life that you've lived, what would you tell that 20-year-old Sandra in advice?
Make better decisions. Yeah. Honestly, Pete, I don't feel like I'm anything like that 20-year-old Sandra. I have grown so much
Yeah.
and developed so much and learned so much and changed so much.
Hmm.
Yeah, fundamentally, yes, I'm still that same person who has a heart for good and a heart for people, but um, I think, yeah, like I always say, like, do I have any regrets? I don't know if there are regrets, but I think I could have made some better decisions.
Hmm. Do you feel that you always learn by your decisions, or do you like look at it as that's just how do you approach those decisions when you're looking back and reflecting?
Um, I think I look at it a lot like I wish I would have known then what I know now.
Hmm.
And then the decisions would be different. But my dad has a saying that you do the best you can with the information that you have at the time you have it. And so much of the decisions we make in our 20s and early 30s, it really is just based on what you think you know at the time, and it's
Hmm.
nothing like what you know when you reach that midpoint.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
So I think I don't look back and have sorrow for things, but I just know I probably could have made my life a little easier making different decisions.
Hmm. What do you think? I go back to my hometown of Richmond, and I went to my 50th high school reunion, and there's always like I haven't seen people in 50 years, and
Hmm.
they say, "What are you doing tomorrow?" I said, "I'm going to a Rotary meeting out in such a place." They go, "What's Rotary?"
Yeah.
And I'm always surprised how people have never heard of it. So if you're speaking about somebody that's never just heard a word but doesn't know what it is, what would you share with them that Rotary is, and how has it helped you in just your journey?
Well, first, I would say that it is a service organization with a social component. And
Mhm.
then I would explain what we do in terms of the foundation, because until I started going to the leadership institutes and reading the Rotary magazine more faithfully every month, I don't really think I knew the impact that Rotary has globally.
Mhm.
And I know the impact that we make here locally, and it's tremendous. It is the most giving organization, but you also can build the friendships, and through that friendship relationship building, um, now I know, like, who would I call if I need XYZ? And we also support each other in that way. Somebody puts out in the WhatsApp chat, hey, I need a roofer. Well, we know immediately who to refer. And so it's helped in that way also.
Mm-hmm.
But moreover than that, I think the people in Rotary, and this is not to toot our own horns, but they're quality people.
Mm-hmm.
They're the people that you want to meet, and they're the people that you want to associate with. And I take a lot of pride in that.
That's so good.
And when I told my dad that I had been invited to Rotary, he was just like thrilled. He was like, "Man, I always wish I got invited to Rotary. I went to some meetings, but he worked so much and traveled so much. It was probably difficult for him." But he said, "This is a huge honor, Sandra. You should just be so proud. Of course, you should accept." So to me, my dad says so. It is so.
Yeah, good advice from Dad. No, I was in it like 25 years ago, and because of travel and doing different things, I couldn't go the weekly because back
Right.
then it was you had to attend weekly. But now they give you the flexibility to, work it in with what you're doing. So
Yeah.
busy people can say, I can still be involved when I need to be involved or when I want to involve, which makes it nice because not everybody has all the time locally because they do travel.
And
Yeah.
it's a lot to ask someone to come to every single meeting, every single month, at every single social, at every single project. And I love the fact with Rotary that you can choose things that work into your schedule or things that maybe just interest you more than other things.
Yeah, that is good. What are you most excited about? We've turned the year of 2026 and we're in full, almost in February. What are you most excited about this year?
I think possibility. I did a vision board,
Mm-hmm.
and I had never done that before, but one of my girl groups, we get together and do a vision board every year, and I finally was able to make it. And I looked at my vision board, and primo up there is travel because I do
Mm-hmm.
love to travel. And then it was more about faith and family and self care. And I think I had some pictures of some plants. I was like, I'd like to take better care of the plants that I own. And I think it's just about creating opportunities in the business, creating opportunities personally, professionally, spiritually. Just that, yeah, I think that's what it is.
I'm a visual too. I love vision boards because
Have to
I
bring it
think
out and show you.
it is so good because everything there's so many distractions that
Yeah.
go on that if you can't see things that you want, like traveling different places, then the brain, I don't know if these are exact numbers, but we have between 12 and 60,000 thoughts that go through our brain.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you keep them straight? If you don't look at something and see it, it helps to kind of see, hey, yeah, I want to go there. So where's your next travel opportunity coming up?
Actually, I have quite a few, and I'm very excited. The next one would be go back to Delray and see my parents. I'm going to do that in March. Got to give some time in between all the trips. But then I'm going to Ireland,
Ooh.
and that's April. And then we're going to Scotland in the fall.
Mhm.
And next year, yeah, it's the big trip. We're going to go to New Zealand, Australia, Tasmania, Komodo, and Bali.
Whoa. Over what period of time will you be in those
It's
places?
31 days.
Whoa.
Yeah, I cannot wait.
Golly days.
Yeah.
So, for people, and I have some friends, they'll say, because I was a golfer and I played a lot of golf, and a lot of the friends go back to Ireland to play golf. And
Yes.
my friend, he said, I don't want to go at the hassle of traveling. I want to just stay here and
Yeah.
travel. What would you
It is
say?
a hassle, for
What
sure.
would you say to somebody that, because I think it's seeing one thing only. Obviously, you got to get there. It's a long trip, but just share with our viewers like that. What does it mean to travel to these places and see
Mhm.
things that you've never seen?
Well, to me, the number one word of travel, and certainly in taking cruises and things, is flexibility. You got to be willing to go with the flow. And then number two is patience, because as much as you are in control, you're really not in control. You're kind of at the mercy of the weather and the itinerary and things like that. But to have the opportunity to expand your horizons and to see the places that you've only seen on TV or read about in books.
Mhm.
One of the most pleasurable things for me when I see a foreign city that I've been to or a foreign thing that I have experienced is I did that. I've been there. I
Mm.
know what that looks like. I'm not just watching it on TV. I remember myself walking, down the Champs Elysees into the Arc de Triomphe or something like that. Or yes, I see a picture of the coast of San Sebastian, and I'm like, yeah, I remember exactly what that sand felt like, and that's what I get the most out of travel
Mhm.
is
Mm.
seeing places that you have read about, that you've studied, that play such an important part in our history and in terms of Antarctica and our future, and being there and experiencing it.
That is
And
good.
yeah, the travel is a pain. Who wants to spend an entire day, could be hours at the airport, but it's part of the process because you
Mm.
got to get there.
What do you do on those long trips? Like, what occupies the time? Like, do you have anything? Do you are a reader? Do you listen? What do you do to, like, make that journey a fun one?
Well, you probably will not be surprised, but I always try to find an exercise opportunity.
Yeah.
I walk the airports. Then I'll listen to a podcast or I will read something. And very fortunate to have the opportunity a lot of these airports to hang out in the Sky Club. So I get to eat, which is
Mhm.
nice, and have a very comfortable seat.
Yeah.
So in those kind of situations, yeah, that's what I do. But you just wait because that
Yeah.
is part of it. When we left Antarctica, we left out of Ushuaia, so we got off the boat, the ship, and we got on a small plane in Ushuaia and
Uh-huh.
flew to Buenos Aires, and then we waited an entire day for our flight out that night.
Mm.
But it goes by quickly, and we made friends on the cruise that we hung out with in the
Yeah.
airport. And you're in a different place you've never been before, so you experience the food in a restaurant, um, and then it just the time goes by.
Wow, that's good. I want to be respectful of your time. So I want to just tell our viewers how, and then I have one more question. How can they get a hold of you?
Well, definitely the easiest way to get a hold of me. Oh, where'd you go? This is why I don't like people interrupting me while I'm in the middle of doing things. Yes,
Yeah.
text and all that, right? Phone calls.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
my cell phone. Can
So
I give
fun.
my cell phone number or
You
no?
can, absolutely. Yeah.
Sure. Yes. If Watson Injury Law or I can be of any service to you in any way,
Mhm.
my cell number is 678-697-4864.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Now,
And I'm also on Facebook and Instagram.
oh yes, yes. There's
Not
always
really very active on Facebook
yeah.
and Instagram unless I've taken a trip and I want to post my amazing pictures. Um, but I do have a presence on there, as does Watson Injury Law.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. What
Mhm.
would be the one thing you would want our viewers to take home from our time on this podcast?
I think don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone.
Hmm.
Don't be afraid to take chances and have adventures. And um, I always say, YOLO and then FOMO, like, because we only get our one go round. And
Yes.
some of the comments that Frank and I get on these cruises is, you're so young, because comparatively speaking, sometimes we are. And I'm like, why not do it while we're young and we're so healthy
Totally.
and we can really and fully immerse ourselves in the whole experience? Because I'm not a sitter, and when we're on the cruise, if it's a sea day or whatever, I'm bebopping around and looking at all the different things that the ship has to offer, and going to the gym, and you're working out, but you've got this just amazing view of the
Mhm.
world in front of you, and just don't be afraid to take chances. Don't be afraid to get out of your comfort zone.
That is such good advice. Thank you,
And
Sandra.
it also applies to business and to Rotary, because you got to take that first step and go to a meeting where you don't know anyone, or sign up for a service project where you don't know if you'll know anyone. But everyone in Rotary is so friendly and so welcoming that highly recommend. Check us out.
It's so good. Want to encourage our community to share this with somebody whether it's serving at a Rotary or Mostly Mutts, or with your needs with personal injury. Definitely, the person to share this, know the person to go to. So thank you so much, Sandra, for
Oh, it's been my pleasure. Thank you.
on this podcast.